Hello and welcome to week 5 of the Gioia Studio Quilt Along of the Rail Fence. We are in the home stretch. This week we are doing our backing, basting, and quilting. Find the fold of your fabric, line the fold with the selvage, and make sure you have a clean edge before you start. I use the ruler on my cutting mat to help me measure. I extend the fabric and I count the inches I need. I put a pin to mark where to cut. Now I have one panel for my backing. I repeat the process until I have all of my panels. Indicate the good side of the fabric. The good side should be facing down. Make a 1/2 inch fold and iron in place. Use a measuring tool to help you make that perfect 1/2 inch fold. I just drew a line on a piece of paper, and this is my guide. Make the fold on the selvage all the way to the end of the fabric. Line the fold over the other panel. Take a close look at the placement of your fabric. Try to make the pattern design continuous by moving the folded fabric into place. Once you are happy, glue the fold where you want it. You can use something like a glue stick. Glue along the fold and then press the fabric into place. Once the glue is dry, find the folded seam. Sew directly on this seam, but don't trim yet. First, sew all the way to the end, press open the seam, and if you're happy with the result, you can trim the excess. I recommend a 1/2 inch seam. If you purchased batting by the yard, it can be cumbersome. Here is my suggestion. Leave it folded in half lengthwise, then fold your patchwork. Lay your patchwork on top of the batting. Trim off the excess batting. Leave at least 3 inches of batting around your patchwork. Next, let's make our quilt sandwich, our backing, batting, and patchwork. You will need masking tape and basting spray or safety pins. In this video, I spray baste. Lay down the backing. The bad side is facing up toward you. I like to start by taping the top 2 corners to the floor. Then the process begins of just patiently working out the wrinkles. It's important to know not to pull the fabric tight because after you release the tape, fabric will contract back and leave you with lots of wrinkles and folds. And that's certainly something you don't want when you're basting. You want everything super smooth. Once your backing is taped in place, lay your batting on top of the backing. This time, it isn't necessary to tape the batting to the floor. Just like before, take your time to patiently smooth out all the bumps. After the batting is laid down and all is smooth, lay down your patchwork. Taping to the floor isn't necessary for this step either. Taping to the floor is only necessary for the backing. Gently roll the batting and the patchwork to the center. I like to wear my mask when I spray baste. After all, it is a spray glue. Wearing a mask is just an extra step to ensure my safety. It is up to you if you want to wear a mask too. I start spraying directly on the backing from the center of the quilt. Spray in one line and then gently roll and smooth. I continue to spray in sections until I reach the end. Then I repeat the process the other direction. I spray the backing, then I gently roll and smooth. One layer remains. Gently roll the patchwork to the center. Then, what I like to do, I start spraying directly on the batting from the center of the quilt. I spray in one line and then I gently roll and smooth. I continue to spray in sections until I reach the end. Then I repeat the process going the other direction. Continue until you finish. Roll one side to the center, roll the other side to the center, and carry it to your sewing machine. Next we quilt. Tools you will need are walking foot, machine needles, I prefer number 100, thread, I like 40 to 50 weight, a template or a Hera marker, gloves with grips, because your hands will lose their oils handling the fabric. Remember those rolls we made? The rolls help your quilt fit under the arm of your machine. When quilting, always start at the center of your quilt and sew in one direction. That means when you reach the other side, return to where you started. Use a piece of tape if you need to with an indication to help you remember. My huge queen-size quilt was impossible to film for this video. Let's look at a mini quilt I made for this demonstration. There are many ways to make a quilt design. For this demonstration, let's use the seam lines of the rows. You remember how I said always start at the top and make your line all the way to the other side and then return to the top and make your next line? This is an exaggeration of what will happen if you don't. Fabric will pull against the lines. Look how my right hand is moving in one direction. Look how my left hand is moving in the other direction. This is an exaggeration of how your fabric will pull between the stitch lines. If you always start your lines from the top, then the fabric will lay smoothly. A very popular way to quilt is with straight lines. In this example, the lines will go alongside the seam line. I will use the edge of my walking foot as a guide. I will make one line going down the seam. As you can see, slow and steady wins the race. The walking foot really is just that, it walks. When I make it to the end, I like to sew past the batting edge. Next design idea is with the Hera marker. I was skeptical of this tool for a long time, but it does work. I love it. I just use a template to trace, or I use a ruler. I start with the longest diagonal first and push with the Hera marker into the fabric. Then I measure 1 inch and use the Hera again. I continue until I have all my lines. Then I sew directly on those lines. I start in the center and work my way out. For the third idea, I'm doing a curved line. It snakes around through each block. Then I go back to the top line in the other direction. Have fun playing with different designs. Options are endless. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe and see you next week. Grazie mille. Ciao ciao. Arrivederci.